Stupid, puny Iron Man. Oh, hey Ryan. What are you doing?
Hi.
Hey. Oh.
Like that.
You didn't see me playing with my toys, did you?
I've seen you play with way worse.
That's true. If you're wondering why we're playing with toys, well, wonder no further. Welcome
So,
to a
Brian,
very.
what did you do last night?
We're going to talk about that in 1 second. So, with that, welcome to a Geek Dad Report special review of Avengers: Age of Ultron. Hang on, we get Cap in here. Did someone say America?
I don't have any. Wash your gosh darn language. Language, man. Language.
Sorry. We will watch our gosh darn language. When you
Yes.
see this movie, and you will, because you will, you'll understand what I'm talking
Yes.
about.
If you're
So,
watching this show, there is a 99.9% chance that you will see this movie. That is how much we are targeting our audience right now.
I am pretty sure that's a 100% chance that you will see Age of Ultron. But like I said, welcome to a very special edition of the Geek Dad Report. I am Brian, and my lovely co-host Ryan, as usual. We are here to review the Avengers: Age of Ultron. As you can see,
Uh,
Ryan has a cool helmet.
I This is actually my son's helmet. This isn't mine. Yeah. I rummaged through the giant toy box or the dress up box and like, hey, there's a Thor helmet.
Oh,
So
well. Hey man, it's perfect. It's perfect for the show. So, basically, Ultron. We don't really need to talk much about it. Basically, since this is a review, the basic premise of the movie, if you haven't already told from the 8,000 trailers that have been playing on TV and the movies, uh, basically, Loki's staff is still out in the world after the events of the original Avengers, and the Avengers are trying to find it. And once they do, Bruce Banner and Tony Stark inadvertently help create Ultron, and pretty much chaos ensues.
shenanigans.
Shenanigans ensues, and awesome adventures as he decides that he wants to destroy the world. So this is going to be a fairly spoiler-free review. Obviously, it's a review, so we might touch on a few points, but we will try and keep major plot details and any craziness too much under wraps. But basically, we just wanted to share how awesome this movie was. So, what'd you think, Ryan?
I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. It had a lot of great one-liners. Like when like you and I were saying earlier about language. They have a whole bunch of like kind of fun like team dynamic and yeah, it's it's hard to put it into words without like gushing and becoming saying anything revealing. But I had a lot of fun watching it, and I will definitely see it again. Maybe in the theater, I don't know, but uh, yeah, it's definitely gonna get at least 3, 4 viewings out of me. So.
Well, I'm not afraid to gush. I absolutely, positively love this movie. Like you said, it's kind of hard to put in words how great it is. I mean, I guess the best thing I can say about it is, it's. I don't know if it's the best Marvel movie they've ever made. I still believe The Winter Soldier is the best story that Marvel's put on big screen. But I have never seen anything in a theater that will match what you will see with Avengers: Age of Ultron. It is for the first time Marvel is completely taking an epic comic book event and put it page for page on the big screen. There's nothing in this movie that you won't see that you have dreamed of seeing. I mean, when you leave this, you're not going to say like, man, I really wish I could have seen more of this, or I wish somebody could have done this. I mean, there'll be things like any movie that you wish you had saw more, more of maybe, or maybe went a little bit different. But I mean, it's not everything that you could possibly want is in this movie. I cannot rave enough about how much I love this movie. I was smiling from ear to ear from the moment it started till the moment it ends, and if it had been a press screening, I probably just would have sat there and made them drag me out or let me watch another screening because it was just that good.
Yeah, and I like how they incorporated some of the side characters from other movies too. You know, we got the Falcon and War Machine.
War Machine was in it.
Went up to his house and I dropped the tank and said, "Boom!"
So, but Maria, that was funny. Maria Hill, Nick Fury. Like I
Yeah,
said,
I mean,
this.
they did a good job of pulling characters and kind of incorporating them a little bit from
Well,
other movies. So
well, and like I said, this was a comic book. This was an Avengers movie. The first Avengers was very much a kind of a mountaintop of all the. It was a culmination of everything they've been doing with the Phase One movies. Where this one isn't necessarily a culmination. This is really an Avengers movie. There's no setup. In fact,
it
Ultron.
literally starts off with a fight.
The movie
Like,
starts out with a fight, but Ultron, who we'll talk about in a second, who is probably behind Kingpin, my second favorite villain so far. I mean, he was not in the, this is his first movie. He had no setup, and he was really, really good. I mean, James Spader was creepy as hell in this movie, but it was its own contained story. I mean, it drew from other movies, obviously with some of the side stories, and all the characters were ones that you'd seen before. But this was its own movie. This was an Avengers movie in the Marvel universe, and I loved how characters just popped in and out like they were part of the same universe. It wasn't a big deal. They had a big Avengers party, and pretty much just about everybody was there. In fact, a couple characters that weren't there, Pepper Potts and Jane Foster, because there were so many people there, they were almost noticeably absent, where they actually had to explain why they weren't there, which was another pretty hilarious scene.
yeah, with Tony Stark and Thor
Or,
having a little whose girlfriend's better
yeah.
kind of spat. So
But and that kind of also brings up some of the humor. Another great thing about this movie was the humor. It is, I mean, it's very
yeah,
Whedon. You don't know what that means. I don't know what to tell you. It means awesome. It means funny. It means serious, but lighthearted at the same time. But
yeah.
the humor.
Each team person, like each team member, like they kind of pull off each other in different ways, and they have, you can see like how they have some jokes between each other that they kind of do throughout the movie, and
Mhm.
yeah, it really adds a fun element to it.
Well, and
That
every joke is not. I mean, there's one-liners, but every big gag joke is has a payoff at some point in the movie. I mean, from the very beginning, Hawkeye. There's a couple of funny scenes where everyone takes off and everyone else can fly, or Natasha's got the Hulk flying, jumping her around, and Hawkeye's standing there by himself, and he's like, "All right, don't worry, guys. I guess I'll just walk. No big deal." He's just kind of walking by himself. I mean, it pays off later in the movie. They humanize Hawkeye a lot and show that he doesn't have powers, but maybe his best ability isn't that he has powers, is that he's the guy who doesn't have powers, who's out there fighting with guys who are basically gods. So I mean, it's everything about it. All the jokes, there's the joke, the trailer that they're kind of running a lot of, where it shows everyone trying to lift Thor's hammer. That pays dividends at the very end of the movie.
yeah,
With one of the other new characters, Vision, who is great. Paul Bettany is fantastic as Vision. He's a complaint that he wasn't in it a lot, but he couldn't have been in it a lot. He was in it just the right amount, but I
the
wanted
way the
to see
story
more.
was, the way the story went, he was in it just as much as he needed to be.
Yeah, and it's a testament to how good he was that when he was on screen, he almost stole the screen every time he was on. He was really good.
Yeah, I love the makeup on his costume and everything, how he looked. I thought that was great.
Well, it was a good mixture too. I thought of practical effects with him and CGI. They did the makeup. They did his costume was a practical costume. It wasn't a lot of movies tend to go the route where the guy's just in a complete green screen, a green outfit, and they completely digitize his character. He wasn't digital, and I think that helped make him feel really like a real character in this universe. So, also a couple other new characters, Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver. I mean, what'd you think of those guys? I liked them a lot. I thought they were pretty cool. But what'd you think?
Yeah, I like their dynamic. Right before I had watched this, I watched Days of Futures Past,
Hmm.
and it's just like how Quicksilver in that movie, like, oh yeah, my mom dated a guy that used to do stuff with metal. But there's like no Magneto references or anything between them. They were just two kids that were their apartment had been shelled or something like that, and when they were
Well,
young, and that's how their parents died. So
when they were first announced, I was wondering how they were going to play the mutant aspect of that whole, the whole thing. But I actually thought they handled it really well, and it was kind of they didn't need to be mutants. It kind of shows how Marvel Universe has kind of moved past needing X-Men, which is kind of sad for us X-Men fans. But
yeah,
they've moved past it. They don't really need them anymore, and you know, and, and,
that's why they're moving to the Inhumans. And it's probably why the comic books they're just gonna do a whole reboot, and I don't think there's really gonna even be very many mutants
well,
in the.
and you bring up
Yeah.
X-Men. I will say the one thing I felt about this movie, and it's a testament to how good this movie is, how great the Avengers is when I left the theater, I was really kind of sad a little bit because I realized that this is what I've always wanted to see an X-Men movie be like, and it's sad because X-Men was always had the built-in potential to be epic like the Avengers, and when I left Avengers, Age of Ultron, I realized how far behind Fox and X-Men still are. I
Well,
mean, it's not even
and
close.
I was also thinking DC is never going to be able to do this with Justice League.
No, no,
And it was just like with what I think it was toward the big final fight scene, and just like in the back of my head, I'm thinking like DC is never going to be able to match this. Like they're
yeah,
and
and
WB is just they're I mean more power to them, but they're never going to be able to make a movie that's going to be this
And this is
epic.
coming from we're both very big, we're both DC fans.
Oh
I mean,
yeah,
this isn't
I
like a
love.
Marvel versus DC. It's just yeah, I'm with you. I mean, watching Avengers: Age of Ultron, like I said with the X-Men and DC, as you watch this, and it's a different level. I mean, it's a different. I've seen a lot of reviews coming out, and there's a lot of people saying negative things about certain aspects of this movie, and I think people are starting to lose touch with how great these movies are just in general. I mean, it's a testament to how well Marvel's done. Is that if you can poke at this movie, I guess more power to you. I mean, there's flaws. Is there flaws in this movie? Yes, there's flaws in the
Yeah,
movie, and we'll
yeah,
talk about a
there's
couple of
definitely
them in a
flaws.
second. We'll talk about a couple of them in a second. But I mean, the awesome. I think I quoted myself when we were on chat saying that the awesome. There's so much awesome in this movie that it completely overwhelms any negative at all. I mean, you're willing to overlook just about anything because everything you're seeing on screen is the coolest thing you've ever seen on screen.
Yeah.
um,
I think it's my head.
well, you don't have to keep wearing it. You've definitely
Okay.
you've added to the
I tried
authenticity
my best.
of our enthusiasm here. So I mean, before we move on to a couple of the things we didn't like about the movies, or anything else you want to talk about? I mean, we talked about the comedy. What about the action? I mean, we've kind of talked about it, but we haven't really talked about it. Is there anything specific you want to talk about with
Uh,
that?
um, the action in the movie. The hard thing for me is because I have bad vision. I don't know if everyone knows about it, but I have a bad vision. Um, and so watching the movie in 3D, it was hard for me to follow a lot of the action scenes.
Mhm.
So I mean, if you can handle 3D, then you'll probably think the action scenes are pretty good.
Mhm.
But I think I'm just kind of done with 3D, and it
Yeah, I
just
mean,
for me it just ruins movies and ruin. I mean, I don't need a dude like punching me right through the face. It's not the if it's a holodeck, yeah, I'm all for that shit. If we're gonna do holodecks, but
well,
uh,
I do think the 3D. To be fair to the 3D, I thought the 3D was very well done. It was clearly a lot of time was spent into it. So the 3D itself, if you're really big into 3D, you won't be disappointed with this movie. The 3D is very very well done. But to piggyback on Ryan, I don't have perfect vision either. But by the end of this movie, there's so much going on. I really felt like my eyes were about to start bleeding. I mean, they're twitching because there's so much going on. I mean, clearly we both recommend that you don't see this in 3D, but yeah, it's the action is one thing was really impressed with just on the action in general is how much action's in this, but you never felt overwhelmed by it. You never felt action fatigue. Sometimes movies that have this much action towards the end, you're just like, can we just get this over with and move on? This one didn't. Every scene was very well choreographed. Whedon used a lot more of the wide angle scenes where he kind of pulls the camera back and allows you to see
they
every
did a lot of
teammate
pulling
in
the camera
action.
back so you can kind of see, either like the whole group fighting at once, or at least big sections of them, and those are. I enjoy that a lot better than just seeing a whole bunch of one guy on one. fighting someone and then cut to someone else. It was cool just to kind of see like a whole group dynamic.
Yeah, and you very much, yeah, exactly. You got to see them all together, and it was, that great scene in the very, think about the great scene in the first Avengers where they peel back and you get to see them all just one time. This is on a just different. Everything about this movie is on a different scale. They peel back and it's all the Avengers plus the new Avengers and everybody fighting thousands of these Ultron robots in slow mo, where you can literally see every single fight and punch and hit and it. Like I said, sometimes the words aren't always there to describe how awesome this movie is. I mean, we were trying here, but I mean, there's not just that. There's the Hulk Iron Man fight, and that is epic. The opening scene where they fight Hydra is epic. I mean, every time they fight Ultron, it's epic. I mean, the whole movie is just epic. Everything, if you were a big fan of the Winter Soldier like I was, one of the things I loved about that was how Captain America became really a badass in that movie. The first couple movies, he really wasn't that tough. In the Winter Soldier, he took it to a new level. In this one, he takes it even further. I mean, he's even more of a badass in this movie than he was even in the Winter Soldier. I mean, Thor's still Thor, smashing everything with his hammer, being awesome. The Hulk is great as usual in the first one. He doesn't quite steal the show like he did in the first one. That kind of goes more towards Hawkeye. I really liked how they developed Hawkeye a little bit more in this. He's the one Avenger that hasn't been in any other movie. He hasn't gotten his own kind of storyline. This one, I thought they did a really good job of humanizing Clint Barton a little bit, and Black Widow was a badass. I mean, it's a great movie. I don't know what else to say about it. I mean, clearly we're gushing. I don't want to spend too much more time talking about it, but
I'm just trying to hold back. I mean, I could say a lot of stuff that was spoiling the movie for people, and
I think we're gonna do.
It's if you're a fan of anything Marvel's been doing lately, you're just gonna sit there and just squeal the whole movie.
Yeah, pretty much. It's
gonna be like.
Well, that's kind of what we're doing on this review. Well, okay, so we talked a tiny bit about things we didn't like. Was there anything that you didn't like, clearly, besides the 3D about the movie? I mean, every movie's got something, but is there anything in this that you weren't a fan of?
There were a couple scenes that were like kind of obvious. Like I took one of my friends to the movie, and it's like you knew there's gonna be a part of the movie where they all have to sit down and figure out how they're gonna, what they're gonna do next. And I was my friend like, all right, I'll be back in 5 minutes. He like gets up and goes to the bathroom, and he comes back and he's like, oh, did I miss anything? It's like, no, they're just sitting around talking about what they're gonna be doing, So there was a couple of scenes like that, where you're kind of you knew like what's gonna be happening, in that kind of vein. If it wasn't like a big fight or something going on, they're just kind of discussing.
Yeah.
What are we going to do next?
You can tell where they're checking the checklist off for the movie a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. But, and then the only other thing, it was just Joss Whedon's original cut was 5 hours long.
Mm-hmm.
And you could tell that they kind of did have to sacrifice some stuff. And, some scenes just kind of seemed, like, okay, so, that guy was talking about something, but now he's doing something different.
Yeah.
And
no, I'm with you. I felt like you really felt that with Thor. Thor, I think, is the biggest casualty in the movie as far as there's parts where he goes on like a side quest without spoiling anything, and you don't really know why or what he's doing out there or how he gets there.
All right, see you later.
Yeah, he's like, I must check on something, and then he disappears. And then they bring in some other character. I mean, it's not bad. It doesn't derail the movie, but it feels a little bit out of place. Also, too, there's a few side stories that felt like that maybe in the original, the long cut, that they had more substance to them. Nick Fury kind of just appears out of nowhere without any, at the end of the Winter Soldier, he has a kind of a clear arc of what he's doing. He's kind of taking off and, he's ending S.H.I.E.L.D. And this one, he kind of just comes back with no explanation or what he's been doing or whatever. He's just like, hey, I'm back, and so I felt like there could have been a little bit maybe more there that they cut. There's a little bit of a love story between Bruce Banner and Natasha, Black Widow, and it's not bad and it's not over heavy-handed, but it definitely kind of comes out of left field a little bit. I would like to see them maybe expand it just a little bit more. So my only criticism of the movie isn't there was nothing really wrong with the movie. It just definitely felt like, honestly, I wish it was longer. That's my biggest criticism of the movie. I wish the movie was a half hour longer. I would have gladly sat through a 3-hour Avengers movie. and it would have been epic because the 2.5 hours never felt like
Yeah.
2.5 hours. It felt like an hour, and it was just boom.
Yeah, I definitely would have. It seemed like they could have cleaned up some stuff, and Whedon had been able to keep it, longer. But I mean, I understand. They're trying to keep these things. They can't do it. Every single movie would be 3 hours long for a Marvel movie if
Well,
they
yeah,
wanted to try
I
and
mean,
get everything that they need to get in.
and I will say because
So
the story, I wouldn't say it suffers. It's not really. I think that's partly, like I said, the Winter Soldier. I still like the story. It's a little more in depth and complicated. Partly because you only have a few characters to work with, so you could tell a tighter story. This one, there's so much going on. Ultron is so great, and he's such a fun character that you would have really liked. I would have liked to see a little bit more of him on screen at times, and just to see him and that
yeah, I
James
thought he
Spader
was one of the
creepy
more
voice doing something.
enjoyable villains that I've seen in the Marvel movies so far.
Well, yeah, and honestly, and with Marvel movies, generally the villain's the one who unfortunately gets cut a lot because of the timing and how much is crammed into these movies. And this movie's no different. Unfortunately, Ultron is very well fleshed out. And he's a very good villain. Like I said, I think he's probably the best villain they've had so far since Kingpin, honestly, in the Daredevil TV show. But you know, but I would have liked to see a little bit more. So obviously, like I said, there's a lot going on, but it never overwhelms you. These are all minor things that we talk about. I mean, it's honestly finding things you don't like about Avengers is like trying to find something you don't like about ice cream or sherbet or cake. I mean,
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
It's awesome.
You're gonna eat it and you're gonna love it while you're eating it anyways. It's just like you're like, oh,
So I
got
mean,
too much sugar.
yeah, I mean, clearly we could sit here and talk about it all day. I mean, do you have any? I mean, what are your final thoughts on this? What do you got to tell the people why they should go see Avengers?
What I'm telling people is go see this movie in 2D, not 3D.
Mm-hmm.
IMAX if you can, and just prepare yourself for nerdgasm after nerdgasm. You're just gonna sit in your chair and but yeah, it's fun. It's a fun movie. I want to see at least one more time in the theater. Um, but you can't go wrong with it. I mean, and unless you're like a complete jerk, then maybe there's something wrong with you. But
Well, I know that I
it's
know that
gonna
I
be.
nerd.
I'm gonna say $2 billion. That's what
Oh,
I'm
I'm
saying.
going higher than 2 billion. I think it's going to go to. I think it has a chance to knock out Titanic in the number two spot. In the worldwide box office. So, kind of what you said. I nerdgasm the entire time I watched the movie. So, I mean, I'm going. I'm taking my daughter to go see it on Saturday. If you got small kids, it's a little darker. It's a little more violent, but it's Marvel dark, Marvel violent. So it's not over the top or anything. If they can see the Winter Soldier, they can see Age of Ultron. But yeah, like you said, you're not going to find a funner movie. I can't rave enough about this movie. I mean, it's the coolest thing I've ever seen in a movie. I have yet to see a movie that is as cool and as epic as this one is. I mean, from start to finish, it blew my mind, and it was absolutely amazing. The whole thing. I don't have anything else to say. I mean, so now we get to the ratings part. I'm just gonna go first. I give this movie a freaking 10 out of 10. I'm gonna completely nerd out. Did it have flaws? Yes, but its amazing awesomeness completely destroys any flaws in this movie. Don't wait till the second weekend. Go see it because you were going to be that guy on work on Monday who didn't go see it because you don't want to deal with the crowds, and everybody else is going to be like, "Did you see it? Did you see Avengers? It's so amazing!" And you're going to feel like a fool.
Yeah.
So
And they're
go
gonna
see it.
ruin it for you.
They're going to ruin it for you. There are surprises in this movie that you do not want ruined. So go see it. I mean, 10. It's a 10. 10 out of 10. It's great.
I
What do
don't
you give?
have any number to give. I will say I had something I wanted to say, but it would give away a slight gag and a slight funny part in the movie, but I won't do it. So, just go see the gosh darn movie. All
Is it
right,
language,
that's
Ryan?
all I want you to do.
Go see the movie, or Hulk will smash you
That's it.
because
That's
he
all
does
you
that.
gotta do.
Go see Avengers. So, well, thanks for joining us. Thanks for listening to us geek out and act like complete nerds about this fantastically awesome super action epic movie. So obviously, like I said, we both loved it. Go see Avengers.
Yay, Avengers!